And as an artist, just do whatever you want to get good at. Just do it every single day. I say that to the kids that I work with in the youth centre all the time. How do I get good? Just do it every day. It's not complicated. You don't like study your craft, study the people before you and what they did, and then just do it. Just work on it every single day. It's simple as that.
Welcome to Moral of the Story, a podcast where everyday people talk about their real life experiences.
We live?
Yep.
I'm feeling pretty good right now. Yeah, cause everything I've ever wanted is within my reach. But I've got to be impeccable whenever I speak.
I want to kind of give you your flowers while you're here because you are my cousin. I know you as Aaron, and some people may know you as Bitter Belief, but I've seen a different side of you, and I don't get the chance to say I really admire the path. I look up to, some of the things that you've done over time. Yeah, I just want to give you your flowers on that, man. Even though you're my cousin, I just want to say, love everything that you've been doing. Love what you've done, and yeah, bro. I just...
oh, man. We're starting off on that.
Pull on the heartstrings a little bit, yeah.
No, I'll take it. I'll take the flowers.
Yeah, man. So I'm really interested to understand the journey that you went through.
Yeah.
Because there's probably a lot of things that I don't understand. I've never known. So just pulling out those life lessons.
Yeah.
And how long has it been? When
I was just about to say, yeah.
When did you first start?
So I wrote my first ever rhyme when I was 14.
So it's coming on 20 years.
21 years, yeah.
That's a long time of just working on a craft.
That's more than half my life.
Yeah.
And I remember realizing when it was half my life, when it was I think when I was 30 and it was my 30th and people were talking, it was speeches at my 30th or whatever. And I was like, man, it's been half of my life now because I started 14, 15.
Yeah.
And now I'm 30 and now it's just even more. It's been for more of my life than before when I wasn't doing it.
Yeah.
So, but the first rhyme I ever wrote was because it was either because my granddad passed away on my other side, on my mum's side, or because my cousin Josh was homeless. And I can't remember, I either wrote from my perspective about my granddad or my cousin's perspective from him being homeless and coming to live with us. So it was just in the start, actually before that, I would just print NWA lyrics or write NWA lyrics, but I would change the lyrics to be from about guns and bullets to being a bit more about Australian stuff or stuff I was going through.
Yeah. What gave you that sort of what inspired you to do that?
When I found hip hop, I was just obsessed with it. I was okay. What is this? I think the first song I ever heard was Gangsta's Paradise by Coolio.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I found this cassette tape in my auntie's shed. There was a pool table in her shed and we would have been mad young, 10 or 11. And put this tape in, didn't know what it was. And it was a hit at the time. But when you're 10, you don't know what the hits are and shit. It's just whatever your parents are playing. And then we just put it in this tape cassette player, me and my cousin Josh, and played it. And it just blew my mind. I was right. What is this guy doing? This is amazing. And I wrote out all the lyrics. I just had to know all the lyrics and I'd learned them and perfected them.
Yeah, wow.
And then I remember Tupac came out with California Love. And what's crazy is that my mum was always a massive hip hop fan anyway. So I kind of learned but mum likes white music. My mum likes black music and she's white, and Dad likes all white music. Dad likes Bee Gees and Bread. Mum liked Motown.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Diana Ross, Marvin Gaye, all the Barry White, all these black artists. And then so Mum was had these. What was the single? California Love. And that was the next one after Gangsta's Paradise. And then I went back. I was like, what's this hip hop stuff? I remember the internet came out, and then I just used to print out NWA lyrics, and I would cross them out and change them, and then I'd rap to their song, but I'd say my stuff that I'd changed.
Is that like a skill that was it I guess a way to learn how to rap? Would you say intuitively you just picked up a way to learn?
It was the foundation, yeah.
Yeah.
I say it to people all the time, before you start trying to be something, you need to study the actual art and craft of it. Do you know what I mean? So before you pick up a basketball, before you pick up a pen and want to study be influenced by people that are already really good at it. Like it's a, you know what I mean? So it helped that they kind of had the blueprint already. They'd written the lyrics, because I didn't know how to start from like a blank page.
Yeah.
But so I didn't have a blank page. They gave me that, and then I'd go, oh, I wouldn't say that, or I've never done that. And then
You know what's funny, man? I played a lot of basketball growing up, and how I learnt was by watching so Dad would buy, or he would rent those the VHS tapes. So that's the tapes, yeah? VHS, yeah. All the basketball ones. This was when I was 7, and it would be like the 80s, like Magic Johnson,
like
Michael
movies?
Jordan.
Oh, right.
All the basketball tape, like documentaries that would come out.
Wow.
And we would watch it, and, you know, Dad would be like talking about how amazing this person is or what this person's done. And obviously this is in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
So we're going back 20 years. I'm watching these players from years ago, and I'm dissecting what they're doing, going outside and doing it how I saw it.
Yeah.
So that's similar to the way you learned and how you picked up.
Of course, yeah.
You know,
but I think that even the people that I learned, that they probably would have learned the same way off their predecessors and people before them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what's crazy. That's what's amazing about passing. Passing down onto the next generation. I feel like it's getting more and more less. Watch me and do what I do.
Yep.
And now these days, people are, just because we're more connected and communicating easier through like social media and stuff like that. That people like myself have a lot more contact and are connected to the next generation coming through. So it's almost like we're saying, well, I personally do anyway, a lot of rappers don't, but I'm like, this is all the stuff I've learned. Just have these tips and advice now, rather than you going through years of figuring it out yourself. Do you know what I mean? And it's like you speaking to Lockie, my brother, about who's just started playing basketball. It's like, instead of you going through years figuring out A, B, and C through experience, I can share that knowledge with you, and then you can kind of start putting it into practice. So that's kind of what that was for me. I could print it out without knowing NWA or anything. It's like they were speaking to me, but like past me, because I couldn't relate to the lyrics. I was like, I love whatever they're doing. I loved that it's in the devil's in the details, the attitude. And with attitude, I was like, it was the attitude that I was drawn to. I was like, man, these guys don't give a
yeah. Gotcha.
And then it kind of just stemmed from there. And then my cousin came to me, and he was real hurt and he was struggling.
Okay.
And then I was like, man, can I? And I don't even remember it, to be honest with you, but I just remember thinking, I wonder if I can start a rhyme from scratch and kind of just like talk from his perspective.
Yeah.
And I sat him down like we are now, and I said, tell me everything. And he was just talking to me, and I was just writing down like keywords or quoting him. And then, I wrote a song about him. And then I'd like show people. I showed my mum, and she cried, and I liked it. Like, that's the crazy thing about making sad music, is when people cry, you're like, oh, yes. You know, you want to have that emotional effect on people.
Yeah.
So I started going, oh, wow, like this is kind of powerful. People are, I'm obviously telling his story in the right way because people are reacting to it.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of started going, it was my cousin first, and then my granddad passed away, and then I wrote a song called Crossing Over. Remember that dude that had the show, and he'd like chime people in, and he'd pretend to. No. And he'd be like, yeah, they're saying, just keep doing what you do. And he had a show called Crossing Over. John Edwards or something, I think his name was.
It's like a supernatural thing?
Yeah.
Okay,
so I called it Crossing Over. I was like talking to my granddad.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the first song you ever wrote?
Second song, yeah. But these were all never with a beat. I wouldn't play a beat.
Okay.
And then write. I'd just write like...
Without, a cappella style, and just go off the
Actually, the way it started before all that was, I used to go to I was like a massive skater. I used to love skating, like skateboarding. And if you went, what was the place called? Cherokee. It was like, or God Park they called it, because it had a church there, like attached to it. And then all you had to do was walk through a door, and in the same big like warehouse thing was a big skate park. And we just wanted to skate, and we were like 12, 13, 14. And if you sat through a church session, you could skate for free.
Okay.
So we used to just like sit through the church session.
What a way to get them in the door, huh?
Man, it's like we get all these kids to sit through a church session, and some of them, like even like with me, I started believing it. At first, I was like, hurry up, I just want to skate. And then after a while, I'm like, sing hallelujah. Do you know what I mean? Like, praise the Lord. I was like passing out in my chair. And then I started writing prayers.
Okay.
I started trying to make up my own prayers and write prayers and stuff. And then I went from prayers to NWA. I was like,
Yeah, okay.
man, fuck God. It's time to have some attitude.
So you kind of merged those two styles
I did,
together.
yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
And then when did you, in your mind, go, I can do something with this? Like, I can pursue this.
Like pursue it as a career, or is just like
I'm
passionate about
I'm passionate about it enough to start recording, start putting stuff. When was that time in your life?
I think
Was that a few years later after all that?
Yeah, so that would have been about 14, 15. I'd say by like 18, I was like, so I was signed to an independent record label. We just used to make songs in my room, like just songs over and over again, just rap to other people's beats. D12, grab that beat. Method Man, grab that beat. Remix them. Yeah. And it just had like a shitty little setup, like a little like handheld microphone from Harvey Norman that was like $50.
Yeah.
I set it on top of my screen because back then computers had like a full back end to it.
Yeah.
So I had like a towel folded with a microphone sitting on it. And then I'd just have my lyrics on the screen and I just rap, but it would record the beat coming out of the speaker and me rapping at the same time. So it sounded horrible.
Right.
But that's kind of where I just got obsessed and I could just record myself every single day.
Yeah, yeah. What was your tell the people what your name was back then?
My name, but what are you doing, man?
But see, we know you as Aaron. You are my cousin. We also know the first name too.
Yeah.
We're going to give people insight.
Yeah, give the people what they want.
It was Montana. Yeah.
You know what? Not a bad name. I mean, now maybe
I don't know
back
why at the time I was like, that's dope.
like Tony Montana.
It was after Tony Montana.
Yeah,
I was
okay.
obsessed with Scarface, man.
Yeah.
And I was like, his hustle that he has in the drug game, I'm going to incorporate that into my music career, I guess.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
going to hustle hard and have like a ruthless attitude in achieving what I wanted to achieve. So
My word is my balls.
my word is my balls. All I have is my balls and my word.
Yeah, that's the one.
But yeah, the thing with the record label didn't go great. But like, it's funny you say about life lessons because that was, if there was a time in the whole like music career or whatever you want to call it that I learned the most, it would have been about that time because that's where I learned what I've kind of carried throughout the whole thing. Was that like not to not trust everybody, but just to understand that. That's when I realized that some people are looking out for themselves.
Right.
Because when I was 18, I was like, oh, these people want to help me. They're going to help me get to where I want to get. And they promised me all this stuff. This is how we work. This is how we operate. You'll get this, you'll get that. And then none of it came to fruition. And I was like, where's all this shit we were promised? So, and I don't think I put an album out the whole time I was there. But I changed my name. And I used to rap with an American accent too.
Oh, really?
I left that out.
Wow.
So I used to put on an American accent. And at the time, I thought I sounded American. I listen to it now, and I'm like, I sound like a weirdo, like an Australian trying to sound American.
Yeah.
I sound like Ben Simmons.
Yeah. It's not a good comparison.
Do you know what I mean? He like tries to talk with this American accent.
Yeah, you hear like a hint.
You hear it coming through.
Yeah, you hear the American, and then you hear the Aussie.
Yeah. Speak how you speak.
Yeah.
But then, so I changed my accent and I told the label I was changing my accent because I got into that's when I found Hilltop Hoods and Draft and Downside and stuff. I was like, yo, what is this? These guys sound awesome and they're rapping how we talk. Like that's how, you know what I mean? And then it took us a while to adjust to that because the same words don't rhyme.
Yeah.
Like when you change your accent, different words rhyme.
Yeah.
You know? And then but then when I told them, like I went to them to say, like, I'm leaving kind of thing. I'm going to do my own thing. When I told them why, I was like, I'm going to switch to the Australian accent and change. They were cool with it. They were like, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
You know,
go right ahead.
Good riddance.
Yeah, okay.
Because there was like this beef between people that spat with the American accent and people that rapped with the Aussie accent. So it was kind of cool. I was like, all right, cool, no worries, left.
Yeah.
And then just started doing that thing I said, like recording in my room nonstop, just trying to find my voice and my accent after. So we just did that for ages and we just did it non-stop really.
Going back a bit, what, like, you know, through your teens, you know, coming to your 18 and 19 or whatever, what was this sort of backlash like you would get? Like I could imagine there's a lot of opinion maybe from family or, you know, people that you know or even friends. Like what were people saying to you like when you're trying to pursue something that you're very passionate about?
Before 8 Mile came out, it just wasn't cool. It was just like, you're just a white guy trying to be black. When I was in high school, it was like, there was like this Ali G award and I won it. It was like in my, what do you call it? What's the high school book? The graduation book? Yearbook, yeah. So I won like Ali G, there was an Ali G award and I won it. I don't know what they're trying to say. It's like this white guy's trying to be black.
Okay.
Because I was rapping, because it wasn't, and think about it now. Imagine saying it to a white guy, you think you're black just because he raps. It's like globally accepted that people from all, cultures and colours rap. It's like a normal thing. So, but back then it wasn't. And then 8 Mile came out and it changed everything. Then everybody wanted to rap.
Right.
But by then I was dirty. I was like, man, fuck all you. I was doing this. You guys used to give me shit for this, and now you're all doing it.
Yeah.
You know? So that was a hard one. Like I just used to cop shit all through school, and I went to a like predominantly like surfy kind of school. So it was like homies versus surfies, gangsters versus surfies. I used to say. And all my mates left in year 10, so I was just still stuck there in year 11 and 12. And then so like I kind of made friends with all the surfies, they like kind of liked me after that. But 18, 19 would have been more so like my dad. That kind of messed with me a bit because Dad was like, Dad's very...
by the book.
Yeah. So he's like, you need to focus on something that's like it's too much of a risk. Do you know what I mean? It's well, that may not pay off. You need something more practical to fall back on. So he was like pushing me to do something more, like what he does kind of thing. But I was like, no, I want to make a career out of this and I think I can. But so the school thing, the dad thing... And then, but he's much better with it. I think when it started going well...
You kind of turned him, eh?
Yeah, he's like, oh shit, he's actually serious about this. And took it seriously. But, and then the label thing, like there was a few things in the start for sure.
Yeah, what helped you like push past those doubters?
Just I was obsessed with it.
Just the love
I was passionate, yeah. It's like, imagine if someone said tomorrow, like, you can't play basketball because you're... Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, why? Or you're too short or whatever. Like, you're still going to do it anyway. It's like, you can't stop me. I love it too much.
Right.
So, if anything, I'm trying to get that back at the moment. Like, It's not that I've lost the passion for it. When I sit down to actually do it, I love it again. I'm like, what am I doing? I've missed this. But, like, when you're 35 years old, other things pop up in life that take your attention away. But I remember that if it wasn't for that period of 17 to 21, 22, where I was just like, obsessed. It's like Mamba mentality, Kobe obsessed. Writing everywhere I went, no matter what I looked at, I was trying to put it into a rhyme in my head. I just don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
I don't drive around going, do you know what I mean? Like street sign, decline.
Yeah.
I don't do that anymore.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Yeah.
So you need to be an extremist almost.
Yeah.
Well, it's obsession. It's like, and it's weird because now I have that with basketball and I suck at it, but I won't stop. I don't think I'll be not obsessed until I'm good.
Yeah.
But then I think I'm that kind of guy. It's like once I've, okay, cool, done that.
Right.
I don't think it subconsciously happens for me,
You've got this like, you can pick up something and obsess over it until you get it right.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of move on.
Make my peace with it.
Yeah.
I'll never lose the love for it. It's just I don't have that obsession anymore. Because the obsession is to get better.
Yeah.
And then that's like, I used to endlessly watch rappers rapping and stuff and go, I can't do that yet, where he just did, whether it be like double time or a flow that I can't do. Or after a while, it was like, man, I started understanding multis, so like rhyming more than one syllable at the same time.
Yeah.
A lot of people that aren't rappers or whatever don't understand that rappers are doing that when they're doing it, but there's a subconscious thing that happens. It's like, oh, he's doing something crazy right now and killing it. But they don't have the technical term in their head, but it's multis. It's when you're rapping heaps of syllables at once. Do you know what I mean? Instead of just like cat in the hat, with a bat, on the mat.
That's like Biggie type of...
And it was back then. Like the whole multi thing is just rap progressing and growing and becoming more complex and stuff like that, So, but it's the obsession with getting better at something. So now these days I'm like, it's that, when you feel yourself learning something new and it clicks and you're like, oh, that feels amazing. I don't really have many of them moments now with hip hop. I feel like I've learned as much as I could learn. I could still get better, but them hurdles getting over, I can't do that yet. I can't make my tongue flip like that where I do that flow.
Right.
I can do most of it now, do you know what I mean?
It's almost like, the less hurdles you had, the less drive and want. It's almost like you need to put hurdles in front of you.
Yes, for sure.
In order to keep that fire burning.
Yeah, for sure.
And, you described how you had it when you were younger. When do you think that changed? When did you think you like, it's kind of that fire is...
Do you know what I think was, as much as it was beneficial for me and I loved it and I have all their memories till the day I die, is touring with Draft. I think it was just as detrimental for me as it was beneficial, because I started getting kind of spoiled and I got all these, I kind of went along for his journey and I kind of felt like it felt like it was mine at times. It felt like, I can say now that I've traveled the country and toured, you know, numerous times. I've done the whole tour life. I've done, you know what I mean? I've played at the Arias. I've played these massive festivals, and like it felt like I got to tick that box, but it wasn't actually for me. But it's like this, I don't know how to explain it. It's like this subconscious thing that happened. It's like I don't have the drive to go and achieve and do that anymore, because I feel like I've done it. I've had the experience. Even though it wasn't my experience, I was along for the journey for that experience. So if I hadn't done that, maybe that fire would still be burning. Like, you have to do a nationwide tour, and do you know what I mean? Like, and I've done that. So even as his support slot, you get to play just before him, and you kind of, when you're up there on stage, it might be your ego or something. You're like, they're all here for me. It's a sold out Draft tour. It's like, they're loving me. This is all about me, but it's not. You know. So I think that was one of the things. The other thing was the amount of ego and the way that the industry is, like, broke my heart a little bit. Really? That thing that happened with that record label, the way it all went down, and that was the start of it. But then after, I thought,
is that base camp?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought I'll take the lessons I learned from there and apply it to the industry, and I have been, and no one's ever stuffed me over ever since because of that. But the amount of people that try, and when you see, once you get it, and it is business, it's not personal, but the selfishness, the people trying to get, like, use you and get things out of you. It's like, I like authentic and genuine relationships. I don't like to feel like I have a relationship with someone and then it comes to the surface that there was a hidden agenda, or it's like trying to use me to get to Draft or to complete, or like it's like sometimes everywhere you go you see the worst versions of people because they're not themselves. People come up to you and they're like, that started to deter me from it a lot. Yeah.
The hidden agendas, like
the hidden agendas of the industry, but then also people in public as well that come up to you. Like, some people are real disrespectful, man. Some people come up to you and will just
expect you to do.
Expect you, or like also making you feel. And this feels weird because it's obviously on a very lower level and a smaller. It's not to the magnet. Imagine someone like Eminem or someone that can't go anywhere, or everywhere you go, people are super annoying. This sounds horrible. Like, I sound like a bad guy, but people, it just brings out really annoying tendencies in people. People don't know how to come up and have a constructive, good conversation with you. Like this kid in the youth center the other day, I opened the door, he'd never been there before, and he walked in and goes, "Fuck off." Do you know what I mean? I'm like, do you know, like, when you're a person, for someone to do that to you,
the first impression like you get from someone is that.
And that's fine. But off the back of it, sometimes people come up to you and start talking to you, and then it's up to me to lead the conversation. And it's like, it gets a bit awkward, or people just repeat themselves, and then you go, "Hey man, how you going, Aaron?" Trying to have a normal conversation, and they said, and then it's up to you to direct it, and then they're going, I'm fucking tripping out, man. I can't believe it. It makes you feel really awkward and inhumane, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
And then I was like, what am I aspiring? Am I aspiring to get bigger so that that's even worse? Like, and so I feel even weirder in public situations, or why would anybody want to be any bigger?
Yeah, true.
Literally, it would be just for financial gain now. I don't want to be recognized everywhere I go. I don't want like ego strokes everywhere I go. It makes me feel awkward and weird.
Right.
Yeah.
Man, one thing I'm starting to connect is like how much of a purist of the craft you are.
Yeah.
And what I've kind of, as I'm listening to you speak, I feel like you got to a level where you could get an insight onto, you know, when you do get to a certain level, the dangers or maybe like, you know, those hidden agendas, and because you got an insight to that, maybe that kind of deterred you a little bit and kind of felt like, maybe that's not for me. But you still have this love and passion.
Of course, yeah.
So it's almost like a really hard thing to juggle.
It's the push and pull for sure. And it's like, and I've battled with that for ages. I'm like, what do I? And then I try to figure it out in my head. Do I just make music and put it out for the fun of it? Stop looking at it as a career? That's kind of where I'm at the moment. I'm like, just put out music because you enjoy doing it and it's fun. It's not to please anybody. It's not to, because when things start going well, the more people you know are listening, the more it affects your writing process.
Right.
You automatically, you're like, what do people want me to say? What do people want to hear?
Yeah.
What's a concept that'll do well that could be made on radio? And once I strip myself of all that overthinking is when I write my best music. So like, why be even more immersed in an industry that I hate and let it affect my actual passion for it? Do you know what I mean? So there's the passion for it and the art form that I love, and then there's all this shit around it that I hate. I hate the ego. I hate the clickiness of the industry as well. I hate the music industry. If you want to be involved and be successful and be on radio, you have to have very left-wing ideologies. You can't have... and I reckon most of the people in the music industry that have them left-wing ideologies, it's not even real, it's fake. So you kind of can't even be yourself in this industry. And if I can't be myself in a place, I don't want to be in that place.
Yeah, I get that,
it's
for
like,
sure.
If I can't speak, if you speak out your actual opinions on certain things in this industry and people don't agree with it, people will shut you down. And it's like, well, wait a minute, this is hip-hop. This is meant to be healthy, like idea sharing and opinion sharing. This is what it's always been.
Yeah.
But it's like, nah, but if your opinion disagrees with us, we'll shut it down.
Yeah.
So it's like, whatever.
It's tough because you got an insight to what it's like, and then you have this push and pull sort of relationship with it. Going back to the earlier days, when did you start to climb that ladder a little bit? When was that?
Where it started to...
Where you started to build up to that point where just before you get to that push and pull relationship that you have with hip hop.
It would have been 20 to 25,
Yeah, that's where you started to ascend a bit in like maybe notoriety, your music was getting out there.
And then 25 to 30 it was like 20 to 25, 25 to 30.
Right.
And because the sense of it became, a lot of it was with, as I grew as a person as well. See, when I was younger, it was just like, I'd call women bitches, and I'd rap about like just fucked up shit, you know what I mean? Like stupid young, and some of the kids that come record with me now in the youth centre, they're doing it too. And part of me is like, just don't talk about this shit, man. You don't, when you're older, you're going to regret it. You're going to look back and say, I was an idiot.
Yeah.
It's like, you're not, like, don't degrade women just for the sake of it. Don't glorify drugs. So 20 to 25, that was still kind of cool with me. I was still doing that shit. So I was just rapping about the life I lived.
Yeah.
And then it got to 25. It's like, well, I'm not like that anymore.
Yeah.
I don't want to rap about that anymore or promote it. That's also when I became a youth worker. So I was like, and I could see in the youth centre these kids watching and loving hip hop and just wanting to mirror it and copy what we were doing. So I was like, well, now I've got to be careful of what message I'm putting out there. And then I realised the message that's the most popular is all that real, like, unsubstantial, unintelligent, like, just a shit message. Do you know what I mean? Like everything that they think is cool, like do drugs, fuck bitches. Do you know what I mean? Get money. And it's like, man, where is someone that has a substantial message that is like challenging people's way of thinking? Do you know what I mean? And anybody that comes through that raps like that, they're just not popular.
No, they're not.
Because people don't want to hear that. People don't want to be held accountable for how they're living or whatever.
Yeah.
People just want to listen to some ignorant shit and switch off and feel like they're hard or feel like they're cool. Yeah. So I don't know. That was another thing that kind of contributed to me going, man, fuck, almost like fuck hip hop.
Yeah, right.
Because if that's what hip hop's about, I don't want a part of it. But then I come across artists that are just like all about spreading positivity and a great message and stuff like that. I'm like, all right, cool. Well, that's the hip hop I want to be a part of.
Right.
So there's still a place for it. It's just not going to blow.
Yeah, there's almost like there's two sides to hip hop. Hey, so you've got it's the left and right almost. Yeah.
And well, these days there's more because you got grime, drill, boom bap, commercial. Like everything's kind of broken off, which I think is awesome. It's great for hip hop.
Yeah,
it's going to grow. Do you know what I mean? I'm not massive on, like I wouldn't be like listening to heaps of drill or heaps of grime. There's certain stuff that I like, but it's definitely progressed and grown, and like people are doing different stuff now for sure.
Yeah, it's like it's the competition as well. Like what this person's doing will push you forward and make you do something better and try to push the limits a bit.
Yeah,
I liked how you said you know, the authentic side of when you create music, that's where you want to play in. But, you know, with almost feel like for people coming up and really want to pursue this, would you say that's the best strategy to take?
Be
like
yourself.
just to block out other people's noise or what people want me to say versus and just say what's really
big time
intuitively inside of you.
Yeah, because I think even if it's successful, even if you do what you think people want you to do, and you cater and pander to that, I think it still has a very short expiration date on it. Because look at how often if you're going to do that, you need to be malleable and flexible enough to change as the public changes, and then that's a clear sign that you're not being authentic. Because the public changes, you know how like new crazes come in and this is the new thing, because everyone has a real short attention span now.
Yep.
So if you want to pander to them, be willing to change yourself all the time, because they do. Like what's popular today will not be popular in a month. And then what's popular in that month won't be popular 6 months later. It's changing like extremely quickly. So like if you want to keep pandering to what everybody wants, be prepared to just keep changing your style all the time, because they're changing what they like all the time, you know what I mean? But if you are like, and this is why I'm glad it never just happened overnight for me. It's been a real slow, steady build up of just kind of accumulating people that have slowly come on board, and they go back through my catalogue, and they're the loyal ones. They're the ones that will stay with you. I can put out a shit song and they're all good. They'll be checking for my next song. But if you're just pandering to what everybody wants all the time, you start to get lost, and you start to go, wait, what do people... You got to keep your finger on the pulse 24/7, because it changes that quickly.
Yeah.
So, but if you stay authentic to yourself, then I'd rather be hated for who I am than loved for who I'm not. Like imagine if I was putting out a bunch of music that everybody loved, but I knew it wasn't, I'd be like, yeah, cool, everybody loves this character that I'm playing.
Yeah,
but if I put out my music authentically me and people hate on me for it, I'm like, oh, well, at least they hate me for me. But if they love me, I'm like, cool, they love me for me. And I'm not trying to please anybody but myself.
And the people that love you for you, that's real love.
And it's loyal, and like they'll follow you for... The people that are following me have been following me forever, but the people that are following... I don't know who's new and popping or whatever, but like if there was a new popping dude, they might have been following him for a year. But these people have watched my journey. They heard me talking about like calling chicks bitches. They heard me talking about punching people in the face and smashing drugs.
Yeah.
And now they've stayed with me through and they've kind of grown with me, because as I'm getting older, they're getting older too.
Yeah.
So I've noticed a large portion of my demographic is like a similar age to me, maybe a little bit younger, say 25 to 30, as opposed to 15 to 23, which might be like, you know, some of my peers' fan
They're at a
bases.
different stage of life, whereas the people that you've kind of accumulated through all this time is like they've grown with you.
me, yes. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And I like that. And the conversations I used to have with people at shows, they'd come up to me like, yo, man, you know this grapher, he writes, I don't know, tags or whatever. I'm like, nah. And he goes, oh, man, he reckons he made you piss and he sold you coke and all this. I'm like, people would come up to me fabricating stories and the wrong kind of... I'm like, I'm having conversations with people that aren't like-minded people. They're nothing like me.
Yeah.
And then my music would change, and then people would start coming up to me in beer gardens and stuff and going, man, I love your song, The Dharma. Like, tell us a bit more about meditation. I'm like, these are the conversations I want to be having. That's when I knew I was on the right path. I was like, I need to be speaking more about what I'm going through when I'm going through it, because that's what I'm going to attract, people that are curious about that stage of my journey, not wanting to talk to me about graffiti and smashes in the street and beef and stuff like that. I don't give a fuck about that. You know? And I want to talk about like personal progression. I want to talk about spirituality. I want to talk about the community. I want to talk about hip hop in general. Do you know what I mean? So them conversations became seamless. It wasn't like, get me out of this venue. These people are doing my head in because they're nothing like me. Well, you're attracting them to you. So what are you putting out there? And that's what I had to check myself. That was that phase 25 to 30 I was telling you about.
Yeah, when you talk about that phase, was there a moment, so maybe at 25, where you were just like, man, I'm not me? Or was there a moment where just you clicked, where the light went off for you?
Yeah, I got into a fight at a gig, and I was like, and it was Drafto that said to me, man, I kept getting at fights at gigs. Like people would come to gigs and then it would just be beef and I just punch on with people. And he's like, Draft, he said to me, if it's happening this often, it's not a coincidence.
Yeah.
It's not everybody else. Maybe it's you. Maybe it's what you're putting out there. And a lot of people, when you said before, sorry, I forgot about that. You said, what was your, I guess like what were people trying to use to knock you down and like criticize you with? So from that period, 18 or whatever to 22, 23, I was still kind of up to no good. And then after that, I was like sorting my shit out and became a lot more chill, but I was still rapping like that.
Right.
So dudes that I used to know in the street that were like hardcore dudes and stuff started turning on me and being like, he ain't like that. He's like, he doesn't live that life, he spits and stuff like that. So that became this massive, and then people in the street that I used to be cool with started hating on me.
Yeah, right.
And it was also because I was doing well and I was like making friendship circles with like SBX and stuff like that.
Right.
So I was like, fuck Bitter, he's changed. He doesn't live that life, he spits. I've known him for years, he's doing. So all these like whispers from my past were coming up.
Yeah.
But then there was dudes in my past that were mutual friends with them that I was also still really cool with, that I am to this day.
Yeah, right.
They're all locked up, but they're or on the run.
Yeah, okay.
But they would stick up for me against them. So whenever these people would catch me by myself without my boys, it would be beef.
Yeah, right.
So, and Paulie was right. It was the second I started changing I've never been in a fight since. I haven't been in a fight in like nearly 10 years.
Yeah, wow.
And it's because I changed what I was putting out there. It wasn't the same energy. If I'm going to fight, it's going to be on the basketball court. Or like,
It's funny you bring up fights because I don't think I've ever told you this story. I was 16, probably I was with Andre and one of his mates.
Yeah.
And you
so
actually
I would have been,
you'd have been like
21?
23. So it's about the time you're talking about like, you know, you're out of the streets and you're still talking about it on your songs and
Yes,
stuff. So it's
yeah.
around that sort of time. And your name actually got me out of a fight. Have I ever told you
Never,
this story?
no.
So I was at a party maybe I shouldn't have been at. It was me, Andre, and one of his mates.
Shouldn't have been at, as in a bit dodgy.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And it was through like a friend's friend sort of like told us to come. So we weren't really invited there. It was kind of like we got nothing else to do. Let's just go to this party.
Yeah.
And it's just the wrong crowd. And you know, Andre is, you know, he's a confident person. He's very cocky. He can be
Outspoken.
cheeky.
Yeah,
He can be definitely cheeky.
Yeah.
And the party spilled out onto the streets, and it was just mess. And we're outnumbered. There's three of us. There's probably about 20.
You, Andre, and who?
One of his mates, I think his name's Ray.
Yeah.
There's 20 of them. There's three of us, and yeah, they start pushing Andre. Andre's a big guy too, so
Still back then he was?
he's backing himself.
Yeah.
And you know, there's a couple guys around him, and then I get involved and I start pushing people off him, and all of a sudden, like 5 guys start coming up to me, and I'm just getting hit left, right. And then someone out of nowhere is like, hey, get off him. That's Bitter's cousin. Out of nowhere. And I'm like, and then they were like, sorry, man. They helped me up. They're just 180.
Wow.
And they're just like, yeah, they just kind of
Well,
left
I
us
wanna
all
know who
alone.
this is.
And then they started like kind of trying to be our friends. And then,
Nah, too late. They put hands on you.
Yeah, I know.
I want to know who it is.
and then
Nah.
we were dirty at him. We were just like, nah, let's get out of here.
What
'Cause
suburb is this?
He's in Joondalup.
Okay.
I can remember it was like in a park.
Wow.
The house party was.
What's
like,
crazy is that somebody recognized you as my cousin, so they must have kind of known us.
There was
like-
one. So the guy that we knew. So the girl was throwing the party that we knew. So there was a couple guys that we knew of, and they knew of us.
Okay.
And they kind of know our last name. They listen to your music. They kind of know. So they kind of put 2 and 2 together.
Okay.
And it might have been brought up in the party, and they might have had that conversation.
Man, I can't believe this is the first time I'm hearing this.
Yeah.
Classic.
So your name kind of got me, out of
Some trouble.
Yeah.
Right. Man, I'm not gonna lie to you. It comes with perks sometimes. It does either get you out of stuff or it gets you special treatment. And part of me will take it.
Yeah.
And then part of me feels a little bit dirty. I'm like, this isn't right. Like this
Yeah.
isn't like, even when I used to be obsessed with Delta Goodroom, and even when I went to, like, I met her at the Arias and stuff, and then after we were in Joondalup, and I was like, what's going on over there? And it was Delta Goodroom, and there's like a massive line of like teenage girls waiting to see her. And then I walked up to the front, I was like, oh, what's going on here? And this chick from Sony, like Sony Records, was like, hey, Bitter. I was like, how you going? She's like, oh, it's a Delta Goodroom sign. I was like, oh man, I haven't seen her since the Arias. She's like, yeah. Opens this rope, and I just like slide on in, and there's like 400 teenage girls
Wow.
behind me just hating on me, like, who's this dude with tats about to? And I'm up there like, get a photo with her. I've still got the photo.
Yeah, wow.
I was like, do you remember me from the Arias?
She didn't.
No, she pretended she did, but she lied. for
yeah,
it.
right.
She goes, oh, yes, hello. You lie, man. You don't.
Oh, Delta.
So, like, sometimes, like, things will work, and I can feel some places I go, I get special treatment, and you'll take it because it's, but sometimes you're like, oh, it shouldn't be like that.
Nah. And you know what? Like, you've got a fan base, and I think you touched on this before. Like, you're not Eminem status.
No.
But can you just imagine that disparity like that?
Well, that was the thought that made me go, do you even want that? Do you even want to be at that level? Like, I don't know. Like, imagine, look at a dude like him. He's not married. He's never been married. You never hear of him with it. How would you ever trust that your relationships, like I said before, but at the moment in the industry, you're like, now that I'm hyper vigilant about it, people come up like, hey, like, let's do business kind of thing. I'm like, yeah, what's your motives? You know what I mean? Like, and I'm questioning everything. Imagine having that in my personal life everywhere I went, which I kind of have a hint of that now.
Yeah.
But like, if it was amplified to the point where, like, if I was, I can hear it even when I speak to my brothers, like Complete and Draft, I can hear that it's to another extent of what mine is because their notoriety is at another extent to what mine is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so it's like, do you really want I want the financial gain from my family. That's it. But I would love to be, have you ever seen a documentary called Sugar Man?
No.
Watch it. It's like about a dude that was super talented, amazing musician. Sugar Man.
Yeah.
But he's got a documentary and it's about him, didn't want any parts of the industry, just wanted to make music. And that song was massive. And thank you, Doug. And he kind of, like, he was massive and he didn't do shows, I don't think anyway. But he would just like removed himself from the industry and would just put out music. And I'd love to do that, especially with social media. I wouldn't have social media if it wasn't for what I do. I hate it.
Yeah.
Hate it. I can feel that it's detrimental to my mental health.
Yeah, but you've also got to, like, there's a lot of pros to it too, like you talk about how much the industry is a certain way and there's so many like negative aspects that come with it, but also social media gives you your own platform.
But that's what if I wasn't a musician, I wouldn't need that. So I wouldn't bother with it at all.
Right.
I wouldn't have any.
I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why if you look at my Aaron page, I barely use it.
Yeah, okay.
All my Bitter Belief pages, I try to utilize as much as I can. Because you're right, it is, like I was saying to you the other day, back when I was like 18 to 22 or whatever, I don't even know what years they would have been, but there was no just post on Facebook, create an event, invite everybody. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was, we'd get posters printed out, like you had to pay to get them printed out. You'd go pick them up, cut them up yourself.
Yeah, right.
And then you just go stick them up places, stick them in, shopping centres and give them out at train stations. Like, that's how we were hustling. This new generation have no idea. I hate to sound like that jaded old guy, but do you know what I mean? But that was also part of the hustle. And that, like, I loved that. You have to love the hustle. No matter what you're doing, if you don't love the hustle, there's no use doing it.
Yeah.
You have to really enjoy that part. You can't just be doing it for a gain or whatever,
Yeah.
So we used to do it that way. And like, so when social media came along, don't get me wrong, it's totally a blessing. Like, it's the fact that it's changed so much and made it so much easier for artists is amazing.
Yeah.
But if I wasn't an artist, I would have nothing.
Nothing to do with it. Yeah. There are like a lot of negative aspects to it. For sure.
I just think, like, I'm at an age now where I'm trying to keep my ego in check, and certain things will happen where, like, even I'll post something and going to check how many likes things have.
Yeah.
Like, what is happening intuitively for you when you go, that's just looking for acceptance, and that's looking outwards for how many people like me, and they don't. They just liked that photo.
Yeah.
And views, so now I just try to be really self-aware of getting caught up in how many views I get or how many likes or how many, because I realized that the human brain I think it's wired in a way to protect us, and so it's protective. So, like, if I put a song out and there's 200 or 300 comments, all really nice, of adulation and, this is amazing, love you, da-da-da, but there's one that just says, this is shit. I bet you any money, I don't even have to, when I walk away from that computer for the next 10 hours, that one comment is going to consume me. But then 199, I just completely, you forget them.
Yeah, right.
They just become white noise,
Yeah.
But that one thing, this is shit, he just might be, it's a troll account, having a shit day, jealous of me, I might have fucked his missus. Like, it could be a plethora of things, but you walk away going, what? Why didn't he like it? Then you start listening to the song, what part didn't he like? And this is not what I'm like now, but years ago, before I started putting myself in check and being more self-aware, like, what other people think of me was really important. Now I'm trying to remind myself, what other people think of me is none of my business, but I'm in an industry and a profession that exacerbates that need for, because you do, if you want to be a professional, if you want to be a successful musician, people have to buy into what you're doing and like you.
Yeah.
So, but I just don't want to, I like dudes that are like J. Cole. J. Cole is my favorite rapper because he's just humble. He just does his thing. He's not a part of the industry. He just puts music out for the sake of putting it out.
He doesn't pay. It seems like he doesn't give two minds about like what's going on. All that outside noise.
He doesn't get involved in it.
Doesn't.
No. He
kinda
doesn't wear the big chains. Doesn't drive the flashy cars. He's just like a regular dude that hasn't let it change him. So and he seems to be balancing it quite well. Doesn't.
Yeah.
You know. And so if I could get to a place where I could do that, then I'd push forward trying to make it a career. But when you've got a 9 to 5, like especially for what I do for work, it's so emotionally debilitating. Then when I get home, I don't want to tap into my own emotions. I want to watch Married at First Sight or some fucking ignorant shit that I can just shut off to and not care about. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even want to get home and watch a documentary on animals or whatever. You know, I don't want to be in touch with my emotions at all. I want to watch some shit that I don't give a shit about. Yeah. And I can just shut off to go from work where you hear all this hectic shit with these homeless kids and stuff like that to home. Number one, I don't like, you sit down and you go like, who am I? How do I have the audacity to whinge about anything right now? Because that's what hip hop is. It's just whinging all the time.
Yeah,
like,
pretty much.
Life sucks. And so it's like, all right, well, I just heard all these stories all day, and now I'm meant to sit here and complain because my son's got alopecia or something. You know? Like I'm not going to sit here and rap about first world problems. My life is good. I'm blessed. I'm in a great position now. It hasn't always been like that, but what do I? And one of my friends said, I said, I can't write. I got writer's block, and he goes, shit's too good for you. Things are going too well for you. You can't be a hip hop artist and things are going well for you. What do you mean? Do you know
where do you go then? Where like
I'm
you
just. I
still
was
got
thinking
that
to get
love.
I don't know. I might just get a meth addiction and then beat my meth addiction and then rap about beating addiction or so. Do you know what I mean? Like you need. I'm not really, but you need turmoil or like something tumultuous to just go. Okay, that happened and that's bad. So now I'm going to rap about that. But so now what I've been doing is more storytelling stuff. So I'd come home and be like, who am I to rap about myself and my own shit? But now I come home and I'm like, that shit I heard today, let's rap about that. Let's tell her story.
Right.
So there's this song I'm writing at the moment. It's beautiful. It's this girl that's had her kid taken away from her by DCP, but she did everything she could to keep her kid. And she's got this long past of like crazy trauma, horrible things have happened to her. And then DCP have come and taken the kids. So, and it's broken her. So I'm like, I need to tell that story because she can't, you know what I mean? Right. So instead of rapping about something in my life that's minuscule, tell this hectic story for this girl or other people that might be going through that, you know? So I used to be a lot more of a storyteller when I was young, and I'm just not as much these days. Yeah. Yeah.
You talk about so, you know, at 25, seemed like a really pivotal time for you. Yeah. And, you know, you're getting into fights, getting into trouble here and there, and, you know, you kind of make that switch. That evolution between, you know, the early years of your career and now where you're at, do you think there's a multitude of things that have led you here, or is it one? Would you put it down to one thing?
No way.
It's just a bunch of things that have accumulated.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because lately I've been like things that I've realised lately that there's no one thing that changes people unless it's like massive, unless it's like a near-death experience or the loss of your partner or something like that. Nothing small can completely change. You kind of have an epiphany and go, oh, shit, I've just noticed that. And then your whole nature and demeanour change as a result of that. You got to keep chipping away at it. Right. So I've noticed that my anger doesn't serve me any good, but it'll be a thing over time where I'm like, and it has been. I used to be way angrier and had way worse temper. And now it's like, but it's been a gradual, there hasn't been one time where I flipped out and gone, that was stupid, I'm embarrassed, and never done it again. It's just been a gradual, all change is just chipping away at those. Yeah. For me anyway, I can't speak for other people, but for me, I've never, something hasn't happened to me and it's just changed me forever. Never. It's always been gradual changes, little things, little brick by brick kind of change. Yeah.
Do you have that, as an artist, you're putting like so much into your craft, and you're putting it out there for all these people to judge, and that can be a lot of pressure. It can weigh a lot on people. How do you manage that?
The personal thing has to become before the artist thing. So you have to personally care less if people judge you before you can care less as an artist. Right. You can't have a characteristic or as an artist that you don't embody as a person.
Okay.
Because like, yeah, I can't be in my personal life, everything everybody says affects me. And then as an artist, it doesn't. That's just not realistic. It's not going to, if anything, it'll be exacerbated by the artist because the artist is a lot more sensitive. And like you said, you're vulnerable. You're putting yourself out there. So if it's not accepted, you do feel a pang in your... But I just feel like, again, like just the natural progression and maturation of the last 10 years have just taught me that, like I said before, what other people think of me is none of my business, and it's not really going to change that much about how I live my life. So I'm just like, put it out there. If they love it, they love it. If they don't, they don't. Man, the Bee Gees, I learned something from the Bee Gees. They just used to put music out and never look back. So it would be an ongoing thing. So they go, we're working on this, put it out, working on this, put it out. And they would never look back to see how it's doing. And so like now I'm trying to put out a song or a new video clip and not over the next couple of days look how it's doing on Facebook. Just go, that's out now. No matter what happens with that, I can't change it.
Yeah.
There's reading the comments and seeing the likes and shares and all that stuff. It's not going to change anything for me. If anything, it's only going to change my next song in a bad way. Like it's not going to be productive. Everything they're saying is going to filter into my psyche and it's going to, dictate what I write next. So once you've done it, it's like, what's the use? But part of me wants to go through and thank everybody for checking it out, but that takes hours as well.
Yeah.
So I just want to kind of, and I think about what lessons would I want to tell my son, and it's like what other people think of you doesn't matter. Do not live your life based on what you think how other people want you to live.
Right.
Because sometimes I've done that before, been like, oh, I better be this way to please this person. I don't even know them people anymore. You know, they're gone now. And that's all time I could have spent developing who I actually was rather than being who other people wanted me to be. So like I said before, if I put it out there and people don't like it or people think what I've said is fucked, as long as it's my truth, I can rest at night knowing that.
Yep.
But imagine selling your soul, putting something out there and going, this is what everybody wants to hear. I'm going to give them exactly what they want. And then nobody likes it. You just sold your soul for nothing. People don't even like who you're pretending to be. You know? Fuck that.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
It is. I might just quickly chuck a piece. It's all right.
Yeah, go for it. What were we talking about? Where were we at?
Like being worried about putting out art that people don't really respond to.
There's a question I really want to get out was there a time where you wanted to give up?
Yeah.
When was that?
A couple of weeks ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you think as an artist you go through many moments where it's like, nah, screw this, I'm not doing this anymore?
Yeah. I've had heaps of moments like that. It's always during writer's block.
Right.
Or always during like moments of comparison is a thief of joy. So as soon as I start comparing, two of my best friends are drafting complete. Yeah. They're the two of the biggest rappers in the country, definitely the two biggest rappers on the West. So like I could be working on an album and really like it, and they'll go catch up with them and they'll show me their new shit, and I'll jump in my car and be like, damn it, fuck my shit. Like, great, I've got to start again. You know what I mean? Yeah. But then the other night I showed this... So but you forget that it happens to them as well. Like I show them my shit and they probably jump in and start looking over their shit again. Do you know what I mean? So, but it's always either me comparing myself to other people that are killing it and doing, because a lot of time I'm like, I'm better than him. I'm way better than him. Why is he killing it? So, and then there's that, and then there's the writer's block really gets to me as well. And then all that industry shit I was telling you about.
Right.
So
there's been times where it's like, how many times would you say like you've
seriously
like
gone actual
close
to 3?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's funny that it's kind of, you almost, every time you think of giving up, you almost evolve.
Yeah.
Would you say it's around those times where it's like you kind of hit 25 and then you were like, give this up, and then you've come back, reignited, but you're almost a different person?
Yeah. I come back like Jordan wearing the 4-5.
Yeah.
I do, like, you're right, because you say, I want to quit but what you don't realize is you want to quit because there's certain things not working for you. And as I said before, them certain things not working for you, it's only in my control whether I let them either affect me or I use them to my advantage or what. So that one of the times, the first time was that when I left that record label and I was trying to think of a new name. I was trying to change my accent, but certain words were like, it felt weird. And I'd had a falling out with another dude that I'd rapped with for years. And then I just said to my mum, do I really want to do this? And this is how I came up with my name as well.
You're right.
I said, I want to rap. And I knew at 18 or 19, I was like, I want to rap, but I don't like all this other stuff that comes in it. I didn't like what that label did to me. And I was like, if everybody's like this, I don't want to have anything to do with it. And then my mum was always my biggest fan, and she was like, oh, you need to keep going. You've got something. I know you do. Like, I have every bit of belief in you. And then I couldn't think of a name at the time. I was like coming up with all these different names, and they were pretty whack.
That one just clicked.
Which, when she said it, I was like, that sounded dope. I was like, what'd you say? She's like, I have every bit of belief in you. And I was like, bit of belief. And then I just thought, like, I've always been remember I said to you before when I went to church, like I kind of connected with that spiritual side, but then I was also quite angry. So there was like the bitter belief. There was like the oxymoron there that I liked. I liked the fact that I forget what it's called when there's two words that start with the same letter. I liked that it rolled off the tongue. Do you know what I mean? So, and then I just rolled with it. Came from my mum, just like I did. Yeah. Like my first name did too.
Yeah. It's very fitting.
Yeah.
Like, it just, now that I kind of am hearing, like, you know, parts of your backstory and now hearing the name, it's like, that actually makes a lot of sense.
I've actually been thinking about changing it lately.
No way.
Everyone calls me Bits, and like I don't like to associate with the bitter thing anymore. Like everywhere I go, people go bitter.
Right.
Think about that. Think about the word that they're saying.
Would you rather them say...
It's like someone going angry. Do you know what I mean? Like, pissed off, hostile.
You'd want them to say belief.
Yeah, but then that sounds weird, right?
Yeah.
Imagine if your name was... But everyone just calls me Bits anyway. They always have.
Yeah.
So I was thinking of changing it to Bits, but then it's just like, that's a bit weird too.
No, I think bit of belief has, like, it just connects well. Like,
it's too late now. That's the kind of... I was having a conversation with mates, and they're like, it's probably too late now.
Yeah.
Going Eminem and shit. Like, a lot of people probably... Do you think Snoop Dogg really likes the name Snoop? Do you know what I mean? Like, so, yeah, it is what it is.
It just connects now. Like, you can't change that.
No.
Family stuff. I want to get into some of that. Like, how has that influenced your music? Do you think family has played a big part in, like, writing and
my family?
Well, actually, well, let's talk about, you know, becoming a dad now.
So,
do you think that's reignited something there?
Yeah. Do you know how I said I was thinking about quitting? Him coming along, like, kind of want to stop because I don't want to be away so much. But there's only so many hours in the day. I want to spend as much time with my son as I can. So coming home from work at 9 to 5, and then, well, where am I meant to find this time to write? The weekends, I want to be with my son. And after work, I want to be with my son. So that might chill out a little bit as he gets older, but I also want to make as much money as possible as I can for my son.
Yeah.
So if I can find a way to, like, balance all that, then cool. I also don't want to waste where I'm at and, like, the opportunity to make more money if I can. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, if opportunities come up that are financially I don't ever want my intentions to be financially driven, but ever since he came along, I feel like it has been.
It's a slightly more now.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
But I also, like, I was writing the other day, and this is the first time this has happened, and it tripped me out. I was like, well, I went to say something, and I was like, nah, I don't want to say that because Jordan will hear that when he's older.
Okay.
And it's the first time that's happened to me. I've never taken back something I want to say for nothing.
Yeah.
So
it's almost made you more conscious.
Yeah.
Of what you're saying. Yeah.
Because if I don't have a, what do you call it? Obligation to the teenagers. Like, I'm not their dad.
Yeah.
Like, I can put out whatever music I want. Your parents should be parenting you. Like, if you want to follow in my footsteps, if I'm rapping about, which I wouldn't, but like Lean or Xannies or whatever they're all rapping about these days, and you copy me, that's not you. Your parenting gets done at home. So your parents can't blame me for the message in my music. Like, so I want to raise him to know that whatever, do you know what I mean? Like, whatever other people say, you don't have to, like, you're your own person. But I also don't want him thinking my dad was chauvinistic or my dad was, do you know what I mean? Like, because sometimes it's cool to say this about women, or it's cool to say this. Like, I just don't want he's going to hear all that stuff that's already out there anyway. But at least when he's older, I can go, but you were born here and this is where it changed, and dad stopped being like that.
Right.
So I just overthink everything basically.
Yeah.
But going back for family, as in like y'all, like my extended family, it's crazy because I don't know if you remember, but when I was younger, I was sports crazy, and like all them were music crazy. Like Clyde had everyone, like my uncle Clyde, for everyone else, had everyone playing, like all his kids playing instruments and stuff. And I'd just kind of sit there and watch. Des was singing, Luke was playing on the drums. I think Dylan had bass, or Brendan had bass. So they all played something, but I didn't play nothing.
Yeah.
I just kind of sat there and watched. I was probably in all my hockey gear, or like, you know what I mean? And then because my dad was always sports crazy, so he forced me into sport. Clyde was always music crazy, so he forced his kids into music. And now that we're all older, like they're all fitness and sports crazy, and I'm music crazy. It's because as soon as you get your own wings, and you can like, it's like, well, I don't want to do what you've been making me do. I want to like do my own things. I just found that kind of interesting that like I grew up around music, but I was never like hands-on with it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like people are like, have you been musical since you were a kid? And I'm like, nah, not at all.
Dill brought up an interesting point before you got here that he almost, because he you know, music was so much a part of his life, he almost took it for granted that you know how special it is.
Yeah.
And for you to be on the other side of that and be like, oh, look at these guys, you know, playing the guitar, drums, bass, whatever it is.
Dope music room and shit.
Looking like the Jackson 5, you know? But, like, you know, him taking it for granted and then you seeing it as like, oh, you know,
An
as
experience.
an experience and an inspiration.
Yes, yeah.
It's like, it draws those two parallels of like, you know, sometimes what you don't have can really fuel you to go for it.
I want that.
Yeah.
As I said to someone the other day, like, it's a bit off topic. No, it's not off topic. Like, jealousy is not such a bad word. It gets like this negative connotation to it, but it's not such a bad word. All jealousy is seeing that something somebody else has or is doing that you want to do or you want for yourself. I think what you turn your jealousy into is what separates the strength and weakness. So if you turn your jealousy into motivation, like, I want that. I want to be seen as that. Or like, so I'm motivated to go get that for myself. That's a strength, obviously. But if you turn it into, fuck that guy, you know what I mean? Like, and you just start hating and it becomes real toxic. Well, that's obviously your weakness, you know what I mean? And that becomes envy. So if you turn your jealousy into motivation, jealousy is a great thing. Yeah. It's a motivator. But if you turn it into envy, that's going to consume you, you know?
Yeah, it's like the philosophical side of things. Like, everyone is experiencing the same emotions, but once you get those emotions, it's then how you act on it.
Yes.
That is the key to handling your emotions. It's we all feel anger, jealousy, sadness, all these feelings, but it's how we then channel those feelings that really make you and build your character.
Yeah, and what you turn it into. Like, I remember I'd see like a counselor, therapist, psychologist, whatever you want to call it. I think everybody should. I'm not trying to say I'm fucked up. I'm just saying it's beneficial for me. I think it would be beneficial for everybody. Yeah. But like, I remember saying to her once, and then and he made me angry, and she's like, "Whoa, let me stop you there. He didn't make you angry. He did what he did, and then you chose anger." And that's why I really like her, because she holds me accountable. Like, I want to be held accountable. I want people to call me on my bullshit, because you can't develop and grow if you're not. So when she was like, well, wait a minute, let me stop you. Nobody can make you angry. Anger's a choice. And she started, she held me accountable. I was like, man, that's so true. And
when did you start seeing
It's been a long time.
Yeah?
Yeah. Because of what I do for work, they pay for it.
Ah, okay.
So it's free.
Yeah.
But you can talk about your personal shit. You can do all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
you find it beneficial?
100%.
Yeah.
Massively. She gives me strategies. Yeah, massively.
Yeah, right.
For sure. And like sometimes I can feel it. I come out and I start putting all the stuff into practice, and it's all at the forefront of my thinking. And then by the time I can feel it start, like, what do you call it? It just starts to evaporate. It's not at the front of my mind anymore. Slipping back into old habits. My next session's due. I see her again. And then she kind of keeps me above water, you know?
Yeah, it keeps you aligned to... Yeah.
It's just reminders. It's like I said before, you can't have an epiphany and then that's just how you are now. You need to constantly remind yourself. And that needs to be creating new pathways in the brain. Like, because I've created a pathway in my brain. As soon as something happens that I don't like, I can become frustrated or angry. So over time, it's like new. I think it's like, I read somewhere, because I'm quite fascinated with the brain. It's like 200 new times where you stop yourself going, we're not going to get angry. All good. This will pass soon. This is nothing. And the way I teach myself is on the road. She told me this. She's like, where do you get the angriest? And I said, on the road, without a doubt. I'm either going to kill myself or someone else one day. Yeah. And she's like, okay, I want you to practice something for me. Always, and meditation taught me this as well. Always explore like ongoing thoughts. Don't act on your first impulsive thought, especially if it's probably toxic. So if someone cuts me off, instead of thinking they've just cut me off, fuck them, they've stopped me getting to where I'm going quicker, I'll go, and then I'll catch myself and go, wait a minute. Is he in a rush to get to the hospital? Because something's gone wrong. Is he in a rush to get to work? Because if he's late one more time, he gets fired. Have you ever cut someone off, Aaron? Yes, heaps of people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what actually will I care about this in an hour time? That's one thing that's a absolute nugget of gold that she gave me. Everything because I'm so reactive in the moment, she always goes, ask yourself, and I have this like mantra now, am I going to care about this in an hour? Or am I going to care about this tomorrow? And most of the time it's no. So the stuff on the road, I start to try to apply to normal life, but...
You apply this to music as well? Like those sort of mantras?
Oh, exploring the second, third, fourth, fifth thought. Yeah,
well, it's like you were talking about it before, like those YouTube comments.
Yes.
Just that one comment that really, digs at you.
It's like it's inner dialogue. It's like, yes, I try to, as I go through bouts of being more conscious and being unconscious than normal. But if I'm consciously working on stuff, then I'll go, wait, Aaron, don't react. Because my usual first thought or reaction is a very impulse one, and it's usually pretty poisonous and like, they're doing this because they are trying to do this to you, and it's like, well, wait a minute, maybe they're just, and as I go, they get more and more reasonable, and the fifth and sixth one are like such compassionate, beautiful thoughts that I'm like proud of myself. I'm like, and then when I pass him, I'm like, all good.
Thumbs up.
So like, and if it helps me, then so be it. But yeah, same thing. If I walk away and go, wait a minute, Aaron, like I said before, he might be having a horrible day. He might be jealous of you. He might be trying to make a career and it's not working for him. You might have been with his, like I said before, sister or something before. Aaron, what about the 199 comments that were really nice to you? Like, so yeah, it's exploring that, like just not being reactive, basically.
Yeah. It's something you always fall in and out of, hey?
For sure.
It's just practice. It's just got a repetition.
And making it your nature, making it your, like, like you said, repetition. That's what I was saying before. That repetition creates new pathways in the brain. Wow. Same with like shooting a ball. Jane, if you have a habit of not snapping your wrist, snap your wrist 200 times in a row, and you've created that new pathway.
You can relate everything to ball.
Yeah,
I relate so many life lessons to basketball.
to ball. Man, that's what Kobe was doing with this thing before he passed away. He's like
mentality,
showing people that basketball in court, everything does. Like you can, like you said before, what's the life lessons you got out of music? Music has heaps of life lessons in it because you're still a person entrenched in the music industry. You're still a person, a human being having a basketball experience. Do you know what I mean? So that shit's applicable everywhere.
For me, like basketball has changed my life in so many ways. Like some of the lessons that I've got is how important networking and like you can build relationships on the court and off the court. Yeah. And those just go, they like I've got, best friends because of a basketball court.
Yeah, right.
Has that happened to you in music?
Same. Yeah. Them two, like I spoke about before, draft
complete
and complete. Yeah. They'd probably be two of my best men at my wedding. And I didn't meet draft till I was 20, 21. I didn't meet complete until I was 23, 24. Yeah. So, but we've just gotten so close because we're like-minded people, similar senses of humor, that just all share a passion for music. When you share a passion with someone, you have that thing that
special
connects
bond.
to you immediately. Yeah. And it's like, and that's what I look for that's why I'm that's why I can apply, that's why the music stuff helps my practice in youth work.
Right.
Because straight away, a lot of these kids, I don't know what it says about hip hop, but a lot of the kids that I work with that are like marginalized and vulnerable and, you know, disconnected from society and stuff, they're massive hip hop fans. So I don't know if they love hip hop because of the position they're in, or if they're in the position they're in because of hip hop. So it's like one of the two. But yeah, like I'd see that all the time, man.
Yeah. What has been like what has changed how have your perspectives changed being an artist?
It's perspective on like
your life's perspective. Like what would you say is like the number one perspective shift that's happened to you through this journey of being an artist?
That's a really good one. The ego stuff. Yeah, it's made me very aware of myself for sure. I think maybe without the music, it wouldn't have like amplified my ego so much, because when things start going good, when you're nothing and you're trying to do it and things start going good for you, that period and phase right there, I've seen heaps of people go through it, and including myself, and it's almost like you can't help but what happens to you, because you go from no one really giving a shit about you to suddenly people are giving you attention for something, and you naturally get cocky and like arrogant about it. So, but then when I started to, I guess, like grow up and mature and become a lot more like into consciousness and spirituality and stuff, I had to look at myself, because that's what it teaches you. Stop projecting onto other people. Stop trying to change other people. You should be looking inwardly. So when I started doing that, I was like, whoa, I think I'm better than other people because I do what I do, and that's not the cat. Like that shouldn't be. That's a ridiculous way to think. So that's what it made me realize, that what came with it was a sense of inflated. It did inflate my ego, but that if it wasn't for that, then it wouldn't have made me look at my ego to start with. To start going, well, wait a minute, let's get this in check, and let's like work on ourselves to you know, just change the things about myself I didn't like. When I looked at that, I was like, I don't like that about myself. Yeah. So yeah, I'd say that. Yeah, I'd say that for sure.
I pick up on like you have an ability to like retrospect things, like look back in your past, and then a lot of people really lack that, like being able to look back at something in retrospect and say, was that the right decision? And
man, that's
people say it's regret. Like maybe they regret something, but then, you know, I think regret is there so you can then learn from it and change. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
man, I've never actually thought of that, but that makes all the sense in the world. I'm a very reflective person, but I think it's because you have to reflect in order to write. Like if I'm writing songs, I'm only talking about stuff that like has happened to me or stuff that I'm already doing. So you're right. I think it's naturally made me a reflective person. I can look back. I can like disseminate, like, you know, pick apart situations or pick apart what's happened to me. What did that do for me? What did that make me feel? So that now, if something happens at work today, which it did, which was like horrible, I can come home and just process it and reflect on it and go, I could have done that a little bit better. Yeah. And whenever I process and reflect on stuff, it's always me first. Yeah. It's never, well, if he didn't do that, you wouldn't have responded. No, it's all accountability. And that's what it helps me in my relationship with Hannah. Helps me with my relationships with everybody, really. Like if I can walk away from something going, Aaron, you shouldn't have done. But then like I'll come back to the conversation being like, look, I shouldn't have done A, B, and C, but my point for D, E, and F was blah, blah, blah. Do you know what I mean?
Gotcha.
So yeah, and that automatically like sets the tone for a really healthy conversation. If you start with accountability, the other person feels comfortable to go, oh, cool, I'm not on the defense here. He's admitting he's in the wrong too. So we're like, you automatically create an even playing field. Yeah. So I think that, man, you're right. I'd never thought of it like that. That reflectiveness is like automatically ingrained in me as well.
As an artist.
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What's next? What's next for you, man?
So like I've started to like piece together a blueprint or like skeleton tracks for the next thing, but there was a couple of, I won't go into too much detail, but there was a couple of collab projects I was working on that have kind of fallen through. Okay. Which sucks, but it's, you know, I was talking to Hannah about it and she was like, are you okay? Because like I had a bit invested in it and I was really excited about it and I think it was going to do good stuff for me. And I was like, it's just made me think I got to go harder on my own shit. And then I hadn't started a solo project, but that made me start a solo. When they fell through, I was like, fuck it, like go hard on your own shit.
Yeah, nice.
And with that said, I broke through writer's block. Well, do you know what? What I started writing for the collab project helped me bust through the writer's block. That fell through. So now I just look at that as, yeah, it sucks that didn't come to fruition, but if it came for any purpose and reason, it was to help me bust through my writer's block. Now that I'm on the other side of it, let's just go gung-ho on my own shit, on this next shit. That. And I'm loving what I'm doing. Like, the only thing that sucks is that I don't have a space at home to write and make my own music. I used to, at my old house, have a full space. I could, because I'm a pacer. When I'm writing, I'll pace around the house, hands behind my back. I don't know.
Granddad style.
Yeah, just thinking of stuff. Oh, cool. And I sit back down. Yeah, what's that? Walk around again. So I don't really have that at home at the moment. But what's dope is I think I was telling you about this. I've built this new way of writing where I'm driving in my car.
Yeah.
And I've got my phone on the cradle. And it's good because if you're sitting in a room, the reason why I walk around is because you're stimulating your brain.
Seeing different things.
Yeah, you're seeing different things. You're keeping your brain awake. If you just sat like this, looking at a piece of paper, your brain's not awake. It's not functioning to its, full capacity. So, but driving is the absolute epitome of that.
Yeah.
Your surroundings are constantly changing. There's nature everywhere. There's cars driving past. Your brain is awake as fuck.
Yeah.
So thoughts and lines come to my mind. I press the record on my voice recorder, just record a quick. I could show you stuff. It sounds, if anyone ever found my phone, I sound like a psycho. They'd probably give it back and be like, I'm sorry. Like, please don't kill me, you psychopath. Because it's just like me thinking out loud on my voice recorder.
Yeah.
You can hear me trying to put a couple of lines together or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's dope. I'm loving that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm loving that. Like that song I wrote about Hannah, that's what I did. I didn't write a word down. Yeah,
right.
So
maybe you should go more on those walks like the Indian guys, behind
with my hands behind my back.
looking up
No
at
pen, no paper. yeah.
Just have a mic with you, just start recording.
Yeah. Well, I've got my voice recorder.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. And notepad as well. Like I use that. Like if I'm ever lying in bed at night, I didn't used to do this because, you'd lie in bed at night, think of a dope line, and you'd be like, I'll get it in the morning. It's gone.
Yeah.
By the time you wake up in the morning, you've had so many thoughts in your dreams and stuff. It's gone. You're like, it's gone.
Yeah.
So you don't want to risk looking at this, especially me as an insomniac. I don't want to look at my phone light up and wake me up to write a rhyme down. But now I'm like, one night's sleep, if it's a dope line that will last forever once I put it out, I'm writing that fucking thing down. So,
yeah, right. You can wake up in the middle of the night, think of a line.
100%.
And then
I'm writing it down.
Have to.
I've learned not to wait till the morning.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, the next thing I don't know. I think I want to call it something to do with my boy because he's just my motivation for it. He's just the little thing that I've got set up that I do write at the moment is in his little nursery. And at first it was like, this is whack, man. My little writing station is in a baby's nursery. But then ever since he was born, it's like dope because I'm like, well, I'm surrounded by my motivation. His cot's there. His clothes are all around me. Like, this is all for him. This is all for. So it's
quite different from what a regular rapper or any other rapper might.
Yeah,
usually
or from what I used to do for sure.
Yeah, you can imagine if you're writing, you're probably in a recording studio with I don't know.
Man, I remember when I was in SBX, my crew. I'm the youngest out of all of them, and they'd all start having kids, and some of them are like nearly 50 now. And I'm like, before I had Jordan, I was like, what keeps them going? Why are they still in my head? I was like, I hope to be done by the time I'm like 45.
Yeah, right.
Do you know what I mean? But now that I've had a kid, I can see it. Like it keeps them, and some of them just don't even do it with a desired result in mind. They just do it because they love it. Like I was saying to you before, even if I never improve at basketball and I just stay how I am, I'm going to still do it because I love it. It's enjoyable for me, And I can tell some of them that are nearly 50, it's still enjoyable for them. So
I think that's probably one of the big takeaways I get from your story is like that. The first thing you've got to have is that passion and love for something.
yes,
And then everything, all the adversity, all the opinions that you might face, just it's less harsh on you because you have this love and passion, and it can, overshadow that doubt. I think that's one thing I really would take from your story, and I really admire that. Like,
but it's almost like it's hard to take credit for it because, you know, like you have that for
basketball,
sport
for
of
sure.
basketball, is because you can't take credit for it because it's natural. Like I can't help. I'm not choosing to even. If I could choose it, I would push basketball aside and focus on music. I can make way more money off my if focusing on music than I can, but I can't help it.
Yeah.
I used to sit down, open the laptop if I was having a drink out the back or whatever. Even when I'm driving in my car, I'd listen to. You know, like Drink Champs or whatever, because I loved rappers. But now I'm like listening to The Shop uninterrupted, or like, you know,
right.
KD's or like JJ Reddick's or whatever. My natural compulsion is not to just go into YouTube and look at like people spitting a freestyle on K-Slay or whatever. It's to look at like post-game interviews or like highlights and shit. It's a natural thing that's happened, but you can't get obsessed with something unless you, like sometimes people inbox me and they're like, hey man, I'm trying to get big. Do you have any advice? I'm like, yeah, change your whole fucking stance. Everything that change your intention. If your intention is just to get big, how can you be obsessed with, unless you like have some crazy motivation to get out of homelessness or to get you know what I mean? To save your family or something. And that's your final. But like, if you just want to be recognized and you just want, you're operating out of ego.
Yeah.
You're not operating out of passion and love for an art and craft.
Yeah.
So you can't perfect it. You can't get really good at it because you don't care enough about it. If you want to be recognized and well known, you could make a fucked up like viral video tomorrow. That's my advice to them sometimes. I'm like, do something really fucked up and stupid, film it, put it out there, go viral, you'll get what you're looking for. But if you want a career or I don't even know what you'd call it if it's not a career, like a piece of work, a what?
Is it clout or?
Clout.
I guess like just a piece of a period of time that's just like captures your artwork. If you want that, then you're going to have to be obsessed with it enough. You're going to have to love it enough to be obsessed with it to get good at it, or to want to wake up just doing it every day.
Yeah.
Like if your only intention is to be big and famous and have followers on Twitter and Facebook and
Then just
Instagram
do the
and
viral stuff.
it's not enough.
Yeah.
It's not enough.
Ah, man, with everything, you know, we talked about, how would you sum up your story? What would you say is, going back to the theme of the podcast, what would you say is the moral of your story?
Or like a big lesson.
Is to find. I'm very, very lucky. I found the thing that, and that's what I'm encouraging with my stepdaughter at the moment with Isla, is just we've tried it with heaps of stuff. Bought her a piano, she went to gymnastics, went to hip hop dancing, but like, I just think that if people have kids, let your child try don't push your kid into anything. Let you just give your kid everything they want and whatever they gravitate towards. I feel like people are born with a natural like inclination for something or a natural gift for something. They might be transferable skills, but like as a father now, my advice to other parents is to just let your kids explore what it is that does it for them. I'm so glad that I had a mum that was like very, very supportive of my music. I love my dad. If anything, I'm closer to my dad than I'm my mum these days, but he wasn't the most supportive in the start with my music. And if my mum wasn't, I don't know if I would have been doing it. So just like support your children, no matter whether you agree with their endeavors or not, or whether it's going to be something that is massive for them financially, just if it makes them happy. And he's like that these days. He's all for it. And
Yeah,
you've
turned him, like he's almost a big fan of yours now.
I think his age more than me. I think just aging and growing up. Like remember when I was 15, 16, 17 doing it, how old he would have been. Not that much older than me, like in his early 40s. So I think he's learned and grown now to understand that if they're happy, that I don't care. You know?
Yeah.
But at the same time, in his head, he's thinking, I know what brought me happiness, as in my dad. Like, I'll just give this to him and tell him to do the exact same and it'll make him happy and he'll be all right. Do you know what I mean? Like, and so his intentions were great, but the stuff he said to me was like, only 1 in a million make it. Like, don't waste your time with that. So, and he's right, but that's just not like, it's not gonna motivate and inspire people. Do you know what I mean? So he had good intentions. I think he just wanted me to choose something practical that was gonna benefit us long term. But I just want to support my children in whatever they want to do. Like, but and as an artist, just do whatever want to get good at, just do it every single day. I say that to the kids that I work with in the youth centre all the time. How do I get good? Just do it every day. It's not complicated. You don't like study your craft, study the people before you and what they did, and then just do it. Just work on it every single day. It's not. It's simple as that.
Yeah, I love that, man.
The practice makes perfect. I say it to Isla. I'm like, practice makes perfect. My stepdaughter. I'm like, just do it all the time and you'll get better at it.
Yeah, so true.
And
still, it's like, you know, one thing that I always try to remind myself of is like 1% better every day. And then in a month's time, those days where you get 1% better, that's compounding in a month.
Yes.
So in 2-3 months, 6 months.
Well, in a month, you're 30% better. That's a lot.
You just keep compounding. And just think 1% better each day.
That's like that. What did that dickhead Will Smith say? He said, if you lay a brick perfectly and then lay another brick perfectly, lay brick by brick, focus on the brick you're laying, and then eventually you have a wall.
Yeah.
You know, or if you slap one guy and then slap another and then slap another, eventually you've slapped a crowd.
And hopefully they'll stop talking about your wife.
And then they'll keep their...
Oh, you read his book?
Hey?
Did you read his book?
No, it's like in interviews he's said it a few times. Like brick by brick is his like thing. Do you know what I mean? It's his mantra or
You know
motto.
what the funny thing is, I started his book, and he said that at the start of the book. I just haven't finished it.
Since the slap, you haven't finished it? You just...
Yeah, I'm a bit reluctant to open it again.
Yeah, no, don't do that.
Cuz, man, appreciate you coming on, bro. Yeah, man.
dope.
That was amazing, bro. And all the best with music, being a dad, man. I think you're going to be a great father.
Thank you.
I'm really looking forward. I'm not only just your cousin, I'm a fan.
Yeah.
Honestly, one other thing I was going to say is when you sent me a CD when I was over East, man, that meant a lot. And
I remember that. What was CD?
Horizon, my favorite
Horizon
song
Haze.
on there is You Know.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Man, I really like the verses for that. I just hate the chorus for that one.
I didn't mind the chorus. I like the beat, and then the verses were
The verses are on point.
You know when you get a piece of music and it just hits you at the right time.
Yes.
That's what you did for me.
Well, man, do you know, I probably would have been a little bit older, but that Horizon Haze is in that 25 to 30 transition. So that I
Okay.
felt really like empowered at the time. I was
Yeah.
like, wow, I can talk about the stuff I want to talk about. And I
Yeah.
was learning all this new stuff about spirituality and consciousness and awareness and stuff. So it was all like coming out of what I was learning into the music.
Right.
So,
I really felt that.
yeah, it's
man.
interesting. Sick, bro.
Thank
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you, man. That's more of the story. Boom.
Oh, yeah, how do you finish every time? That's the moral of the story.
That's it.